Social media apps have recovered after a temporary global outage. Meta, the parent company, experienced disruptions affecting Facebook, Messenger, and Instagram services. Users worldwide reported difficulty accessing these platforms starting around 9:15 p.m. While services resumed by 10:15 p.m., WhatsApp remained unaffected. Andy Stone from Meta acknowledged the issue and assured users they were working on it. DownDetector.com recorded a surge in outage reports, with Facebook being the most affected. The outage also impacted WhatsApp Business API with around 200 reported outages. Despite initial speculation, the incident was not linked to internet disruptions or filtering at the country level. In Pakistan, reports of platform issues coincided with ongoing restrictions on social media platforms. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken called on Hamas to accept an immediate ceasefire with Israel. Blinken emphasized the opportunity to bring hostages home, increase humanitarian aid to Palestinians, and establish conditions for a lasting resolution. He stressed that it was up to Hamas to decide whether to engage in the ceasefire. Hamas met with Qatari and Egyptian mediators in Cairo, seeking to de-escalate the ongoing conflict in the region. Meanwhile, Italian Foreign Minister Antonio called for a sustainable ceasefire, urging urgent action following the deaths of 8 seekers. Amidst these challenges, Israeli forces conducted new operations in Gaza's Khan Yunis, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. Despite international efforts for peace, Israel continued raids and uprooted olive seedlings in Palestinian villages. Meanwhile, Starbucks' Middle East franchisee Al-Shaya announced significant job cuts due to consumer boycotts linked to the Gaza war. Throughout these events, calls for peace and humanitarian aid persisted. In 2024, China announced a 7.2% increase in defense spending, reaching 1.665 trillion won. This decision, made at the National People's Congress, aimed to safeguard sovereignty amidst tensions over Taiwan and the South China Sea. Despite being the second largest defense spender globally, China's budget is dwarfed by the United States. Beijing's military growth is scrutinized by the US and regional powers like Japan, especially given its assertiveness in territorial disputes. The increase also concerns self-governing Taiwan. Meanwhile, China eyed US-NATO cooperation warily, with NATO viewing China as its biggest long-term challenge. China's nuclear arsenal grew, but it still trails behind the US and Russia. Military corruption scandals raised questions about effectiveness. China's aspirations to challenge US military dominance hinge on addressing corruption and military shortcomings. For now, the US maintained global military supremacy with extensive alliance networks and overseas bases. While direct conflict seems unlikely, tensions in the region could escalate unpredictably. In a recent Corps Commanders Conference, Pakistan's military leadership addressed concerns over alleged interference in the electoral process, emphasizing the armed forces' role in ensuring security rather than involvement in politics. They condemned efforts to undermine the armed forces with baseless allegations and urged focus on governance, stability, and public welfare. The forum expressed satisfaction with the democratic transition of power and pledged to uphold due legal processes. They also reiterated commitment to justice for attacks on military installations and monuments. Concerns were raised over human rights violations in Kashmir and Gaza, with Pakistan reaffirming support for both causes. The military vowed to combat terrorism and support the government in socio-economic development efforts. Field commanders were directed to maintain professionalism and operational readiness.